Gervonta Davis is no longer overrated. His whole career, Tank has been overhyped over knocking out B and C level fighters. And yes, that included Ryan Garcia at the time, and even though he didn't knock out Isaac Cruz was a C, B level fighter that nobody even heard of at the time. The Ring magazine had Gervonta Davis at top 10 pound for pound, but really never beat anybody to be there. He also did not hold a real belt at 135 since he was elevated by the WBA as a real champion, also known as an email champion. But then the Frank Martin fight got announced and I was like, okay, this is a real test, a real fight. Frank Martin is a true lightweight, no hydration clauses or anything like that. This is actually a real solid test. In the build-up for the fight, Gervonta Davis was getting in Frank Martin's head. It was clear, but we're not really going to use that as a big judge or anything to decide the fight. Just because he was getting inside Frank Martin's head, not that big of a deal. But we're just asking ourselves, is Martin really ready for the big lights? And it really seemed like he wasn't up until the fight. So fight night comes. Alrighty, Gervonta Davis comes out to Ghostbusters because Frank Martin's nickname's the Ghost, which was definitely pretty good. Good way to get into your opponent's head actually on fight night. And Martin started real good for those first 4 rounds. He was actually outlining Tank, and we saw it on Tank's face. Had some cuts, had some bruises, and people like to use the excuse that Gervonta Davis starts his fights late. You know what I mean? He likes to be patient in those first couple of rounds, and that's fair. But that did not apply last night. Maybe it did, but Gervonta Davis still did not take a good approach like he should have. If you're going to be patient, sure, but don't take damage while being patient. Either way, though, I did get the sense of Gervonta Davis was being patient to, of course, take Martin to deep waters like he always does. And then when Martin's drained, when Martin's tired, when he's all figured out, Gervonta Davis ends up punishing him. And that is what started to happen after those first 4 rounds. And honestly, from the jump, Gervonta Davis kept backing Martin into the corner and the ropes, a place that no boxer wants to be or should be ever. But it's bound to happen. Unfortunately, Martin was not pushing back Gervonta Davis on the ropes. I don't even think Gervonta Davis was on the ropes at all. Instead, Martin was on the ropes. Martin was in the corner. But believe it or not, for those first couple rounds, for those first 4 or 5 rounds, Martin was actually doing pretty good, having solid defense, holding himself on those ropes. But it was only a matter of time until Gervonta Davis came with a counter, or Martin started to drop his hands from getting drained. And another big negative to being in the corner and on the ropes all the time is you're always having to pivot out. You're always having to circle around. You're always having to get out of there. That drains you, and it absolutely did for Martin. So the 8th round comes, and Gervonta Davis has Martin all figured out. Still in the corner, still on the ropes. Frank Martin couldn't hold it anymore. His body was tired from all the body shots, and Gervonta Davis found an opening, and down went Martin. He couldn't beat the count. So I was really satisfied with that performance by Tank. Even though he took some punishment in the earlier rounds when people are saying he was trying to be patient, maybe that's the case. You still don't want to take punishment when you're being patient. But the fact that he was smart with it, he let Martin be dumb. He let Martin get drained and get gassed and walk him into the corner or walk him into the ropes. A great spot for you as a fighter to get your opponent into. Tank was also pretty good with, of course, the mind games that he was doing in the build-up to the fight, in the press conferences, and before the fight in the ring walk. So after watching that fight, I was like, you know what? He's no longer overrated. But at the same time, I still have other guys beating him. He's not unbeatable. So what's next for Tank? There's really no reason for him to move up yet. Okay, there's some big fights for him like Tio and Isaac Cruz rematch and Devin Haney. But there's bigger fights at lightweight, and that's Loma and Shakur. Now, I think Loma and Shakur could beat Gervonta Davis. I always said that. But I'm not saying that's 100% the case. I'm not saying Shakur will beat Tank. I'm not saying Loma will beat Tank. I'm just saying they could. Both by decision. You know, it's going to be a really close decision. They're going to be after doing a lot of running, getting in and out. But Shakur and Loma, they're known for great footwork, great skills. They'll be able to go all those 12 rounds without getting drained. They're smart fighters. But absolutely, Gervonta Davis could beat them. I don't think Gervonta Davis could outbox them, but he could stop them. It's crazy to think about Loma getting stopped. Crazy to think about Shakur getting stopped. But that's the case for Gervonta Davis. Davis is a very dangerous fighter, very powerful fighter, and if he gets those 2 in the ropes, it could be a bad night. The center of the ring, I think they'll be okay with. I think, you know, Shakur and Loma could outwork Tank in the center of the ring, but it depends. Depends what Tank's going to do if he walks him down. If he walks him down and he has them beat and he has them trapped, nowhere to go, it's going to be dangerous. It's going to really be dangerous for Shakur and Loma. I think Gervonta Davis beats Devin Haney. At first, I had that fight 50-50, but it's clear we saw Devin Haney get exposed. His chin was exposed. Gervonta Davis is going to land. That's the thing. He's going to land no matter who he's facing. Depends how you're going to take those shots. It's clear Devin Haney's not going to be able to take a shot like that. So I would have, really Gervonta Davis beating Devin Haney, just like we saw Gervonta Davis beat Ryan Garcia and Frank Martin like last night. But I think Loma and Shakur could compose themselves better. I think they're not going to take as many punishments, take as many punches to Gervonta Davis like Gervonta Davis did to his opponents. So I really feel like that's 2 good fights. But it depends though. Loma's the active fighter. He's the one's going. Shakur has a bad reputation of running. It depends. Time's running out for Loma. He's getting old. Shakur and Tank, they're still in their primes. I feel like we're going to see Loma fight first for the unified titles, whether that's against Shakur or versus Tank, because he's the older fighter. I think Shakur and Gervonta Davis is the bigger build-up for the undisputed titles. So I think we're either going to see Loma versus Tank first, or Loma versus Shakur, and then Tank fights, the winner of that. It's very important for all three of those guys to stay active. Shakur's fighting soon. We got to see Loma get a fight soon, though. So maybe it could be Loma versus Tank, because they're the two earliest coming off of a fight. But yes, I've been bashing Tank for almost a year now. I don't think he's unbeatable. He's very beatable, but he's a dangerous fighter, and I will stop calling him overrated. I definitely will. Now, just because I say somebody's overrated doesn't mean it's necessarily a diss. If you're calling Tank the face of boxing, then that's overrating him still, regardless. He's not the face of boxing, okay? Canelo's still the face of boxing. If you say Gervonta Davis is the best boxer in the world right now, that's overrating Gervonta Davis. He's not the best boxer in the world right now. If you want to say he's the best lightweight, okay, sure, I'll give you that. I'm not, it's hard to prove yet until he fights Loma and Shakur, but, I won't say he's overrated if you call him the best lightweight. Even if you say he's top 5 pound for pound, you're still overrating him. For top 10 pound for pound, we clearly see he can outbox his opponents, and we clearly see he's a smart, all-around fighter who can knock out his opponents. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. I'm out, guys. Peace.